Hello there, compañeros, and welcome to episode 2 of the SQL Data Partners podcast. I am Carlos Chacon, and I want to welcome you to the show. We're going to hit some highlights on extended events. Now, today's show has been a long time in the making. Some of you may know that I spent some time in Argentina as a missionary church, and when Mariano Covo and the Argentina team said they were going to host the first SQL Saturday in the country this last May, I had to be a part of it. Almost 20 years after I'd been there the first time, I went down and participated in the SQL Saturday. It was a great event. And while I was down there, I made a new friend in Javier Villegas, who has been at DBA for 20 years, and he agreed to come talk with me. So I'm super appreciative of his time. So before we get started, there are a few sounds I want to share with you just really quickly from Argentina. And as always, I hope you enjoy the episode. If you like what you hear, please rate our program and give us a review. If you want to hear something on our show, you can always hit me up at carlos.chacon@sqldatapartners.com or on Twitter at Carlos L. Chacon.
SQL Data Partners.
Javier, welcome.
Thank you. How are you doing?
I am doing great, and I appreciate you asking. It's been great to be here in Buenos Aires. Now, you've been here for some time, and I know that you've been at DBA for the past 15, almost 20 years now.
Almost 20.
Yeah, and so let's see, who are you working for now?
Right now, I'm working for Mediterranean Shipping Company, the container company with, ships, containers all around the world.
Okay, very cool. And Buenos Aires has a large port, right? Very, very important to a lot of that shipping. And you mentioned earlier you've been at DBA since 6.5, right? And very involved in the SQL Server world. Today, you gave a session on monitoring, and one of the things was extended events. So that's actually the focus of our podcast today is extended events. So help me understand what are extended events and what are we using them for?
Okay. Extended event is a lightweight mechanism to get feedback and events and information from the SQL instance, plus the operating system and the whole environment, right? So we see to get the vital signs of our environment with extended event. Now,
so you mentioned the events and some of that information. How is that different than the counters in perfmon? Why would I choose extended events over perfmon?
Okay, there are kind of different things. If you want to compare extended events with the tool, you have to take Profiler because it's more deeper into SQL and it's allow you to get the whole activity that you have in SQL. And the good thing is that you can correlate some of the counter and the stuff that you get through the extended event with the OS events. So probably you can match the information that you get through extended event with performance monitor and the counter.
Right. So would it be fair to say that the benefit of the extended events is that I can see both the query or the action inside of SQL Server with some of the corresponding performance monitors like CPU or disk or memory?
Among other things, right?
Among other things.
With extended event, you can get deadlock information, you can get SQL errors, you can track for long-running statement or queries while I mention errors. So whatever you can do with Profiler or whatever you want to trace, audit information that login, logout, audit fail, etc., you can get it through extended event.
So we've mentioned the SQL Server Profiler. Why would I choose to use extended events when I have Profiler? I know how to use that, right? I open it up, I use my template, I click go, and away I go.
Okay. Well, one of the uses of Profiler is that when you are on a difficult situation under a performance problem, right? You need to start doing something. And most DBAs, the first thing to do is start Profiler, right? If you don't know well how to use it, or you, for some mistake, you don't set the filters in the right way, you're going to be introducing additional problem to the one that you're trying to solve, right?
So that idea of the watcher effect, right? So that while we're trying to monitor, we're actually causing more load on the system.
Yeah, and the benefit of extended event is that it's a very lightweight mechanism, so it's running in background, and you can consume the output quite easy without affecting the performance.
So we talked about using Profiler, and I know just to go back for a moment, but so for those of you who are still using Profiler, we hope that you're using it in a server-side trace, right? So if you're just clicking run after you see the template, that watcher effect will be compounded. And so there's a mechanism called server-side tracing, which may not be quite as lightweight as extended events, but definitely a lighter footprint than just running from the plain template. So we've collected some of this information, and I know even for myself, right, getting into extended events, there's been a little bit of a learning curve, right? So I guess take us through some of the concepts that we might need to know in order to become more familiar with an extended event.
Okay.
Or how to set up that capture of an extended event.
Okay. First of all, you have to define your extended event session, right? Within the definition, you have to specify what package or what kind of events you want to track, right? You have to specify which information you want to retrieve, right? Like in Profiler, when you select the columns that you want to get. And finally, the predicate, right? If you want to specify a particular filter, right? For example, if you are capturing SQL errors, right? And you want to filter some error numbers, you have to specify through this predicate. And finally, you have to define the target where you're going to store the extended event.
The output.
Right? Yeah.
So I have to, in order to set that up, I have to define a session, right? I define the events that I want to capture in the session. I put some filters on that to only give me those conditions under certain conditions that I want information back, and then where I have to save the output from that. Now, I know some part of the learning curve there was that was only available via T-SQL.
Yes.
Is there now GUI interfaces to allow me to do extended events?
The first version, which was in back SQL 2008, it was 100% T-SQL, no user interface at all. I believe there were some third-party plugins, but
I think Jonathan Cajeas and company put together a little GUI interface.
Which was actually good. But then back in SQL 2012 and now with SQL 2014, it is introduced within Management Studio. So you have under Management Extended Event, you can create the session, define your filters, their output, etc. through this user interface. And then you can use the same mechanism, through Management Studio to consume the output, right? You can watch the data live as it is happening. And also you can go back and see the history and do your analysis with that.
So are there standard templates you can use in the GUI?
Well, actually, you have your own user-defined template, right?
So normally you use your own user-defined template?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I believe my experience there was I was using a certain template, and it wasn't the default template.
No.
Like it wasn't Profiler, but there is a general system performance template.
Correct.
But you have to go in and choose that one.
Yes, choose it and do your own customization, right?
Right. Okay. And so is it fair to say that once I set up these events, I set up my where clause or my filters, if you will, for those, that once I start collecting that data, how often do I collect that? And would I be is this something that you'd look at every day? Under certain scenarios, or when are you most using this?
Okay. In my case, I use it to track two of the examples that I have is deadlocks, right?
Okay.
I have an extended event session just for deadlocks, so it's running 24 hours a day. And in addition to that session, I have a SQLation alert which get fired through the deadlock event, right? Which execute a SQL shop, which executes a user procedure, right? Which read the information from the extended event, actually from the file. All the information is stored into XML format. So what this procedure does, it kind of create a user-friendly output, right, and send it to the DBA through email.
Okay, so that agent portion and then getting that email, that's not part of extended events.
That is not part of extended events.
So you have to customize that.
Correct, yes.
You could open the XML in the GUI window.
Yeah. It's a standard XML, so you can open it and analyze what's going on. I mean, in this case, deadlock, you can see the deadlock victim, the killer, the resources involved within deadlock, etc. So you have all the information you need to troubleshoot that particular event in one output. Right? Then the other case that I have is a user-defined extended event session to track SQL errors. Right? In my case, when we upgrade the application that we have in our company, is where I take most when I use this extended event session the most. Why? Because if there is any SQL error that is happening right away after the upgrade, I can easily catch it, right, and go through the proper manager or developer to take an action. So again, all this output is the extended event session generates its output with all the errors that are happening live, right? So in parallel, I check that output, and if I consider that there is something, an error that is a hard one or an important one, I take it and go to the proper one.
So I know sometimes chaining that together, particularly if you weren't very good on your filters, chaining the different events to a certain user experience, for example, was somewhat difficult. Is the filtering in extended events better than Profiler?
It's different.
It's different,
right? Probably Profiler is a quite mature tool, right? So the good thing is that you have a lot of help. Whatever you are doing through Profiler, whatever you are checking to select, you may have a little help telling you what you are doing, right? In Profiler, let's say that, if you are very, very, very good at Profiler, you will find these filters quite easy to work with. Otherwise, you may have to read a little bit. But when you get used to work with the extended event, probably you will never use Profiler again.
Well, so I guess I was referring more to once I have my output, right? And let's say I was just doing a system profile, and it was generating lots of different users, or maybe there was even multiple databases that were called during that time. Well, I'm only really interested in one database, or maybe even a specific user. Is it easier to filter on that information?
Extremely easy. It's just modifying the word clause, like a simple select statement, right? You say where login name equal your user, whatever. So it's quite easy.
Okay, so we've gone through that process. There is a little bit of a GUI. How would you recommend for someone who's not currently using extended events? How would you recommend they begin?
Well, first of all, as I always recommend, the books online. Right? Books online is where you're gonna get all the information you need, starting from the very basic, right, through complex cases, until cases that you can even use in your production environment, probably with some little tuning or adjustment for your own environment, right? So books online is the best source for information.
Do you have any blogs that you follow or folks in the community that have talked about extended events that you have found helpful?
Yes, there are some. I have my own blog, is Javier Villegas DBA.com. You're going to find some information in there, plus some examples of extended event sessions, the one that we were talking today here at the SQL Saturday.
Okay, very good. Mm-hmm. Well, thanks. I think that's been a nice overview information. I think obviously with any tool, right, we need to kind of get in there, start playing with it.
Right.
And then once we see some examples, then it will be easier to kind of make some logical conclusions to the next step.
Perfect.
So we do appreciate that information. And so now we're kind of to some of the favorite things, and then we'll get to your DBA warrior story here in just a minute. So tell us, what is your favorite SQL tool? Now, this tool can be either paid or for free, but tell us a little bit about it, whether it costs money and how you use it.
Okay, first of all, my favorite tool overall is SQL Server Management Studio.
Which we all know and love.
Yeah. Well, there is a plugin which is called SMS Toolpack, right? Which is a paid plugin, which makes the life a little bit easier to the DBA because you can specify connection colors for your different servers. You can have like shortcuts to your script, some predefined templates. An additional, something that you can use as an addition to the plan analyzer, right, to get deeper information. So it's a nice tool.
Okay. So it's an administration.
It's an administration plus developer.
Okay.
It's something that's trying to give, to fill those small holes that Management Studio has. And it's a great tool.
Okay, very good. And so as a DBA, what's your favorite thing to do in your role as a DBA?
Okay, my favorite things at DBA are performance tuning, right, and disaster recovery. In terms of performance tuning, well, I love when users, developers, managers come to me saying, I have this particular problem, this statement, this procedure, this application that is not running as I expect, so I need to make it better, right? So, well, I love those challenges to get that piece of code and, well, make it better, to run with less resources and what everybody wants, running faster.
You get to be the hero. Hey, Javier made the database faster.
Yeah.
Very
so
good.
I really love that. The whole DBA administration thing is great.
Very cool. Yes, I think, for example, which I've said many times before, I actually took 2 classes in college, DBA-related classes, and both classes I hated, and I swore I would never be a DBA, right? I was going to be a network engineer. That's what I wanted to do. And a funny thing happened, and here I am as a DBA, and I've enjoyed it too. So
Let me add something to that. In my early IT days, started with the Microsoft certification process back in Windows NT4 or NT 3.551 something. And at the time, you have the basic courses plus an elective one. And you have like Exchange.
Yeah, there were these monster.
One was Exchange. The other one was, I believe, Active Directory. And there was SQL, right? So I believe that I choose SQL because the other ones were full or something like that. It was like, I don't know, probably 5 days. At the second day, I say, I will never work as a DBA.
So never say never.
Never
right?
say never. Now after 20 years, I remember that day.
Yeah, I think so that was my experience as well. And I think hopefully through things like this podcast or even some of the videos, we have a great SQL Server community that it will help lessen the blow, if you will, the learning curve in order to be a DBA, because it is a very neat thing. And so the last piece is your database administrator warrior story, right? So this is something that has happened to you that that you get to be the hero or something that was very difficult. And so I'd be interested to hear your story.
Okay. Well, as I mentioned before, I love the high availability and disaster recovery techniques. So in my company, we have many agencies with Always On and also database mirroring a few years back. Well, we had a couple of agencies which suffer major earthquakes, like in Chile and New Zealand. The good thing is that the disaster recovery solution configured and implemented there allow us to have an operation quite good. We didn't lose any piece of data because we have a remote data center in where we were hosting the replica, the secondary, wherever. So,
Wow, so that's very cool. I know that both of those earthquakes were very, very large, lots of
indeed.
Devastation.
Yeah.
And so I can only imagine, right, on top of that is to lose that data, lose that information. We're not talking about people's jobs, right, that are impacted. And so, right, they kind of get their lives back in order, their homes back in order, and then they have to get back to work and then put all those pieces back together again. Right. Being able to have that high availability available, make it so that once they are ready to come back, it's there. They can hop right in and just continue working. Yeah. I can imagine that's pretty neat, right? That was able to work. And so thank you for sharing that story.
Sure.
Again, thanks for being here on the podcast. It's been
My
great
pleasure
talking with you. So before we let you go, I wanted to give you another way that you can learn more about SQL Server. Hello there, compañeros. I want to tell you about a unique SQL Server training opportunity that is unlike anything you've encountered. And as a listener of this podcast, you're entitled to a special offer. SQL Cruise is a premier training experience set in the most unlikely of places, a cruise ship. Tim and Amy Ford have created a wonderful culture on SQL Cruise. With 5 or 6 technical leads from various industry sectors, you and roughly 20 other students will talk shop in classes while at sea. And while you are in port, you can enjoy the wonderful world we live in, either by yourself or with the group. The beauty of SQL Cruise is the unique relationships you will form with other SQL cruisers. Worried about leaving your spouse? Bring them along. I did, and she had a great time with the group. In fact, I have been on SQL Cruise twice, and I'm looking to go a third time. You may be wondering if this is serious training, and I can assure you it is as good as any conference you will attend on land. It never crossed my mind that I could be talking about SQL Server with several Microsoft MVPs on the beaches of St. John's. I know you must have other questions, so I suggest you head over to SQLCruise.com and check out the site. Once you are satisfied and you want to sign up, when you get to the question, would you be so kind to share the name of who referred you and what source material led you to us? You enter SQL Data Partners, and Tim will ensure you get $100 off the training registration. This is a great offer, and I hope this $100 savings will entice you to check out the site. I did, and went on the Caribbean cruise and had a great experience, and I know you will too. Maybe I'll see you on board. So head on over to SQLCruise.com and use the code SQL Data Partners to save $100.
SQL Data Partners.